All right. If everything's going well, we're live right now on the interwebs. And before we even say anything or introduce, I'm just going to go ahead and play the intro right now. Hey guys, what's up? JayzTwoCents here with Tech Talk episode 36. 36 weeks of this.
Wow.
My God. So I had intentions of putting up your picture and some sad music playing and an in memory of and mourn your presence this week. But
I know I somehow made it. That is just, dude, a lot of things had to happen for that to happen, but they were all good things. So that's awesome.
So I know there's a lot of people in here, obviously, that are mutual fans of ours. Just go ahead and take a couple of minutes and tell everyone how Xander's doing.
Xander is doing absolutely fantastic. For those of you guys that don't follow me, my son actually broke his arm pretty severely. He busted, I think he broke off his humerus bone or something, the thing that's like at the end next to your elbow. Completely broke it off all the way through. So they had to put him under today and put 2 pins in there to hold his bone together so that it could heal and put him in a big cast. And it's his first time ever having surgery. And, you know, he's just about to turn 4 years old. And a lot of you guys don't know he's autistic, too. So he's, very emotional. We thought that this was going to be just a horrible experience all around. But the people at Children's Hospital in Seattle were awesome. They let me put on scrubs and go into the OR and actually put him under myself. So I actually was the one that got to give him his first round of medicine and then put the mask on him until he went to sleep. So
they did let you go in there then?
They did. They absolutely, they put a bunny suit on me. They put the hair gown, the little foot booties, and walked me right in there and let me put him on the table and get him calm and slowly get him to go under. And so that helped a lot. Like he didn't put up any fight at all. It was a very calm experience. And like clockwork, an hour later, I mean, I couldn't believe it only took an hour. I thought this was going to be like an all-day thing. And then it maybe took another hour and a half for recovery. But yeah, he was a trooper. He woke up, his arm felt better. He ate a bunch of popsicles. I mean, absolutely awesome day. Like, yeah, that's the reason why I'm here right now. I couldn't be happier. Seriously, Jay.
That's what I was going to say is things went well, which is why you're here. Because if you were having a rough time, you'd be like, fuck this shit. YouTube is like way down the list.
Uh-huh. Yep. So. And the only reason I'm doing this is because my wife pretty much told me to go do it because she's downstairs right now and he's just resting and eating the rest of his food. He wants to eat everything, seriously, because we had to starve him for like 12 hours for the surgery.
That's right. Yeah, you had to fast.
Yeah, so he pretty much ate like half a bowl of like these chocolate crackers. He's already ate a thing of yogurt. He drank half a milkshake. I mean, the kid is just pounding it away, and he's keeping it down.
I want to go break my arm now.
I know, right, dude?
Again, I should say. I mean, that's why granted, my very first broken bone, I was 8. That's obviously quite a few years older than your son, but I mean, if you guys don't know, I would say accident prone, but I've had 6 broken bones, 4 torn ligaments, countless stretched tendons. I mean, I played a lot of sports. And then we discovered by the time I was about age 12 that I actually had a bone deficiency. Like my bones were weak. I was kind of like Mr. Glass. So I didn't do anything any rougher than any kid would have. I just was a little more susceptible again. It's like what's that Bruce Willis movie? What was it, Invincible?
It's like was it Broken or no? Maybe it was right. Invincible. Yeah, no, it was the one where the one guy was invincible and the other guy would like break his bones just
actually.
Down
Somebody in the comments tell me it's not Invincible. Invincible was a football movie.
Oh yeah, what was it called? Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, yeah. He couldn't die, and his arch villain was the guy that was like, if you blow on him, he gets like 6 compound fractures. That's not a very good super villain, really, if you think about it.
Not at all.
but remember, Bruce Willis's character, his weakness was water. Remember, he was terrified of water. He couldn't swim, and he got wrapped up in that pool cover. I don't know why. That would be a terrifying thing. Like, you see people who will jump into a pool with a pool cover. That would be really scary to me. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie, I saw that in a movie when I was like a really young kid because that was a pretty cliche gag that they did. Well, I shouldn't call it a gag, but in like horror movies and stuff like that. Yeah. And I remember ever since I saw that, anytime I would go to my friend's house and they'd have one of those like little bubble toppers like floating on their pool, I would actually like genuinely get a little weird about it. Like, yeah, like there's just something about that just freaks me the hell out.
The American says you aren't making a great case for not being injury prone. I've never said I'm not injury prone. I've just said I'm injury prone. God, my left arm. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate my left arm, right? And there's going to be plenty of jokes in here, and I'm going to open myself up to them. That's perfectly fine. Okay, a normal person can bend their wrist at least a 90-degree angle. Some people can bend their wrist back farther. This is my good arm. This is as far as my left arm bends. See that? I am pulling on that arm. That's as far as it bends. Because I've broken this wrist. This is the wrist I compound fractured, by the way. This needs surgery. I just never had it. Because the last break on my... When you break a bone, it actually grows back stronger at that point than before
That's
it broke.
what they told us, yeah.
I've broken the same spot just over from it 3 times now. But the second break was a compound fracture. The third break was a compression fracture, which crushed the bone in. So my wrist only bends... I know you have to see this on the stream, but my wrist only bends a portion of how far it can, but it bends backwards much, much farther than it should bend, and you'll see that on the stream. So when I do push-ups and things at the gym, I have to be very mindful of this wrist because it can't take the weight on it, like, because it can't create a 90-degree bend to give me a nice, even, what's the word I'm looking for, like distribution of weight across my palm. Yeah. My arm just kind of wants to fold over on itself, and you'll see it in the stream. My arm bends backwards way too far. So anyway,
actually, Xander has that exact same problem. All of it, he can hyperextend his elbows. Like
a lot of kids can, like my daughter can. Yep. But I mean, once you stop growing is when you tend to find what your limits are.
Ari Swift said, "Insert masturbation joke here." I did exactly. When you first told me.
Do you see that? Do you see the stream? Did you see how far back my wrist bent?
Yeah. No,
it's gross.
That's crazy.
So
it's funny. A lot of people over here are talking about if I'm still. I saw something that was like, "Am I still? What happened to my diet?" Okay, guys, what happened to my diet was life. Unfortunately, food is a drug, and I was in need of drugs. Let's just put it that way. Things were not going too well in my life. Too many things piled up. I was like, you know what? The diet is going to take a backseat for a little while. I'm going to get happy. I'm going to get collected again, and then I'm going to have another go at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't see. I kind of come the opposite direction. I mean, I've gained back some weight. I mean, I need to do a vlog. In fact, I'm gonna do a vlog tonight probably. I may have gained back quite a few pounds that I worked really hard. I wouldn't look at food as a drug. I would look at food as just an unconscious crutch or coping mechanism, I guess. But I think too, that's the thing. That's the thing when you're addicted to anything, whether it be cigarettes or drugs or beer, alcohol, food, you deal with that in a couple of. I am a little bit busy in here. You deal with that in a couple of different ways where you eat it when you're depressed and when you're happy. It's when you have any sort of like an emotional, right? You have any sort of emotional event. True. You're super happy. Like let's go celebrate.
Sad. Yeah, no, I totally feel you. Like right now I'm eating, well, I won't even show you on camera because I'm embarrassed, but I'm eating 2 Dick's Deluxe burgers. Yeah.
How long did you go without eating? I know you were in the hospital all day.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't eat. Today I haven't eaten. All I've had is a Starbucks coffee in the morning. That was it. I was getting really sick from the stress. Mm-hmm. This morning when I woke up, I didn't sleep last night. I haven't slept really good for like 3 or 4 days. I'm actually really exhausted, and it probably shows. But I couldn't eat because I was getting sick. Every time I just take a nibble of something, I'd start getting sick, and it's because my stomach was just uneasy from it was like that queasy pain you get like if you're gonna go do a performance in front of a bunch of people. It was like that same type of butterflies in my stomach, and it was just making me ill. And it wasn't until we went into the surgical consult room after the surgery that the surgeon basically came in and talked to us and said, "Oh, the surgery couldn't have gone better. Everything was flawless. We got the pins perfectly where we want them. Good. This is 100% success." And the thing was, the surgery ran a half an hour late, so we thought that everything was going horribly wrong. It turns out their equipment was just like on the fritz or something, so they didn't actually even start the operation until a half an hour late. Like I went in and put Xander down. And they said for like a half an hour, they were basically just like prepping machinery and everything for the surgery and checking his vitals and everything. So it went over a little, but we were in panic mode. Like seriously, I was about ready to have a damn heart attack. And then when she came in, she's like, "Oh yeah, everything went great. It's awesome." I was like, it was the biggest weight ever lifted off my shoulders because the way things have been going in my life lately. And I know this is kind of pity party-ish of me even to say, but I just feel defeated. I feel like I can't succeed at anything, even things that are like successes. I look at it, it's like, wow, I hit 80,000 on YouTube. Holy cow. For some reason, everything felt like defeat, and I felt like life was just beating me in the ass for all this stuff. So having that one victory just fixed everything. Like seriously, every problem in my life is gone right now. I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket. It's just an epic day, man. Epic.
Well, I'm certainly happy to hear that because I think that means you're going to finally get a good night's sleep tonight. Mm-hmm. Well, as long as you guys let you guys sleep. So, all right, guys. So here's what we're doing tonight. I wasn't expecting Jerry to be here, and I had approached a couple of co-guests to join tonight, but it was very last minute, so all of those fell through. So Jerry is here. We're going to actually be ending the show a little bit early tonight. We're going to be ending exactly at 7 o'clock because he's got things to take care of. Yeah. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know I am just nursing the migraine from hell for the entire week. I don't know what it is.
Man. Is that still hitting you?
Yeah, but I have a sinus infection way up here, like in between my eyes. It showed up on a CT scan, and it just creates massive, massive headaches. And I have gone through antibiotics after antibiotics, and it won't go away. So I'm just probably gonna go lay down in a dark room. If
you need to take a drill and just be like, just get up there and auger it out.
I have a rotary tool. We can try that. Just kind of go up in the nose.
Rotary tool that some bitch out. You'll be fine.
So anyway, what we're going to do tonight, guys, I have one topic I want to kind of talk about, and then I want to talk about your guys' questions. I want you guys to ask us things you want us to talk about. I do see a couple of people asking about DX12, and I will talk about what I know about DX12. In fact, I wrote an article about DirectX 12. It actually wasn't called DX12, but they officially called it that now. And you guys can check that out on the website, JayzTwoCents.com as well. But that was a couple of weeks ago. So Intel has finally given us a little bit of information regarding their next Extreme Series, enthusiast brand processors and motherboards. We already knew that the next platform was going to be called X99, but we didn't really know what was going to be happening with Haswell E. Well, Haswell E is a real thing. And they've confirmed that the Extreme processor is going to be an 8-core, extremely likely that it's hyper-threaded 8-core, which means 16 threads of processing power.
Hell yeah.
Utilizing DDR4 RAM. Now, I already know how fast DDR4 is, I should say actually, when it comes to just the raw megahertz of the RAM modules, but there are a lot of other improvements in there in other aspects of the architecture of the RAM and the way that the CPU utilizes the RAM. Now, X99, basically expect it to be all of the functions that you guys have come to know on Z87 and even Z77 that Ivy Bridge, I'm sorry, not Ivy Bridge, but Sandy Bridge E hadn't really been able to utilize, like direct lanes to the CPU for USB 3.0 and PCI Express, 16x lanes, and the different types of SATA controllers not having direct lanes to the CPU. They had, third-party artificial lanes for handling like RAID and other fast communication through SATA. But now you can expect all of these types of IOs to be fully functional and utilized in the processor of Haswell E. So I am anticipating and expecting there to be probably a massive increase on benchmarking, but I don't really think anyone who's currently on X79 or using like a 4360K or anything like that to really run out and jump on this. The other thing that really sucks about this is I may be in a position, I don't know if I'm going to be yet, but I might be in a position to be able to early adopt and take a look at this stuff for you guys, mostly through sponsorship. But I don't necessarily recommend anyone on X79 to run out and purchase. Like Jerry, you're on X79.
I am.
It's not something
I stay here.
Yeah, it's not something I think that would make any sense for you to run out and jump and buy. Because if you want to take advantage of the 8-core, that's going to be the Extreme series, which this is completely speculation. I want to see how accurate I am. I'm expecting an $1,199 price tag on that processor. Quite simply, because the current Extremes are 6 cores, and they've always been $999.
Yeah, the Extreme branding always puts it like up over $1,000.
Yeah. So I'm expecting the 8-core one to probably be right around $1,200, maybe even $1,299.
Yep.
And you can still expect to see the lower end, probably a step lower on lower end Extreme, be a 6-core 12-thread, which is still absolutely monstrous.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, it's like, yeah, you pay a premium for a little jump, but if you're doing multi-threaded stuff, like rendering in Adobe Premiere and stuff like that, I think it's going to be like a really beneficial thing. I mean, that would be my temptation for moving to it.
I believe that you're right. I agree with you 100%. My only thing is, and all of a sudden comments have stopped loading on the page. I don't know if they've... There they go. Wow. Okay.
It happens.
It's going really fast now. Okay, I can't read it anymore.
Hey, somebody said, "What if money is not an issue?" Well, then buy the absolute best bleeding edge thing of everything possible all the time.
If money is not an issue, you can have the top of the line. You're just going to get it with a diminishing return performance per dollar. But if you truly 100% are amongst the very few people who have a money's not an issue scenario, you're not going to care about that anyway.
Yeah, true, Jerry. I mean, I would if money was no object right now, I would just liquid nitrogen cool my 3930K and just
that
have
would
that thing
suck.
just cranked up to, I don't know, like 5.4, 5.5, and just have like a big, huge, intricate $1 million cooling system to keep everything in check.
I was going to say, are you going to hire a robot to just keep pouring in the LN2 every couple of seconds?
Yeah, no, I was going to hire an Oompa Loompa.
His job is just to sit there and pour it in.
just holding the container, just pouring it into the tower.
Oh, man. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about DX12 real quick. And obviously, we know that Mantle 14.1 drivers were okay. Jerry, you don't have AMD cards, so you really haven't got to experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
14.2 is showing us better utilization for higher end cards and seeing anywhere between 10 to 15% improvement in FPS because of CPU overhead. So Microsoft obviously said, "Hey guys, we can do all of this too with DirectX." And you had two types of people who responded to that comment. Well, I guess technically there's three. There's probably group number one that said, "Yay, hooray, DirectX is going to be able to give us these types of CPU improvements as well, but better utilization of hardware." And then you have those people that go, "Wait a minute. How come it took you this long to say all of a sudden, oh, we can do it and we can implement it now, like right away?" I mean, we're talking this summer, probably in June when NVIDIA refreshes. And you've got the third person that goes, "What's DirectX?" Right? So DirectX, if you guys aren't aware, it's just an API. It's an what's what API stand for again?
Application Program Interface.
That's right. So it basically is the communication between hardware and the CPU. So in this case, it would be the API that controls the CPU and GPU utilization together. Now, typically, the API can be somewhat restricted to the GPU where, depending on the efficiency of the API, the CPU may be doing more work than necessary to deal with the processes of the GPU.
But just to be clear, the CPU always has to do some work, no matter what.
Right.
It doesn't matter. The CPU has to process the actual API before it gets to the hardware call.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's Windows.
Now Mantle, on the other hand, was technically an AMD, really it's ATI, but an AMD developed API that says we can do it more efficiently to where the CPU does not have to do as much work, and we're doing it all by software. So it means lower end graphics cards or even higher end graphics cards that are dealing with a bottleneck problem are going to be alleviated from having such bottlenecks, theoretically, because the CPU is no longer that tunnel, that bottleneck. So because of better overhead of hardware utilization. Think of it as like the way Mac programs everything for their hardware. Everything in Mac basically has an API that no matter what. And so basically at this point, Microsoft's response to it is, hey, we can do it too. Now, people are excited about that because it means you no longer have to have a GCN, which is Graphics Core Next architecture on AMD cards, specific AMD cards, to take advantage of the increased or reduced overhead of the hardware. So,
but you would have to have a card that supports the revision of DirectX that implements that.
Which in this case is going to be DirectX 12.
Right. But you'd have to have a DirectX 12 capable card. So still, you're going to end up having to buy a new card anyways.
Well, there's more, not necessarily. There's more details coming out where DirectX is apparently going to be backwards compatible with the DirectX 11, DirectX 11.3. Is it 11.3?
At the hardware level? Really?
Apparently, that's what they're saying. They have a list of backwards compatible cards.
Because the biggest problem, I know one of the biggest problems that Mantle solved was, right now, a DirectX, in order for you to set up the polygons and stuff like that on the graphics card, you have to make literally thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of calls. And a call is, calling one of those APIs once. That happens millions of times a second. So with Mantle, they do more consolidated operations. Like here, we want to actually give the GPU more information to process so they don't have to do so many calls each time.
Right.
And so by having an API that's slimmer like that, you don't basically overwhelm the CPU and the operating system, because every time you make one of those calls, the CPU has to go, okay, I need to pause another operation. I need to free up something called a thread, and then I have to run through it, and then I have to come back and do that every single time, millions of times a second. And then you bottle that. That's what causes the huge bottleneck, right? And that's what Mantle's claiming to solve. Is that right. Correct, Jay?
That's what Mantle was advertised to do. Remember, Mantle's still in beta.
Yeah, but the whole idea of Mantle was, let's reduce the amount of calls that are made on the CPU side so that basically you're not bottlenecking based on the CPU, because if the CPU isn't tied up saying, oh my God, I can't, because your GPU might be able to handle 10 million operations a second, but if your CPU can only process 5 million requests, you're never going to utilize it.
Right. And
so, yeah.
And the other thing too is a lot of people were really confused on the way that this really works, because people have said, well, if my CPU is not being 100% utilized, how am I still bottlenecking my GPU? Yeah. So, but it has to do with what that individual process is able to be handled inside the CPU based on the architecture of the CPU, not so much the utilization of the CPU. So there's so we're talking architecture efficiencies versus just brute processing power of percentage utilized. A lot of people talking
about actually having like new instructions on the CPU, like, or on the GPU, like entirely new instructions.
This is really early information.
Okay.
This is really early information. It's just, remember, Mantle came out, and about a week after the beta drivers came out, Microsoft there was a convention going on, and they talked about, hey, we can do all that too, and we're going to. So I think they basically did the press release to kind of keep their name in the mix, to kind of keep the excitement about Mantle down. And now they gave it a name, DirectX 12. But I'm with everyone else in the same boat, in that when I see a new DirectX number, I typically know it means I have to have a new graphics card. And that doesn't necessarily make me happy, especially since I haven't even put my second 780 in the PC yet.
And plus, they're arguably the most expensive component in your computer usually.
Oh, easily, yeah. I mean, I'm going to have two 780s in here, so that's a lot more than my CPU and motherboard combined. Yep. But also, if the direct backwards compatibility, which they say is true, then maybe it won't be so bad. Because I remember when DirectX 9 and DirectX went to DirectX 10, that was when the 8800 series came out. You had to have a DirectX 10 card to utilize it. Everyone had to upgrade. And then when 11 came out, same thing.
Dude, I was pissed off when I bought a power color card that was DirectX 10 and then DirectX 10.1 came out. I was like, really? Point 1? You're really going to get me on a point 1?
But like DirectX 9 A, B, and C and DirectX 10 1, 2, 3, they were still backwards compatible, but they may not have been fully utilized necessarily based on, because
you're right. But that full utilization was what I was after. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I just went and spent $500, $700,000 or whatever on a graphics card that supports it. And then a new standard comes out that enables a cheaper graphics card to outperform me in the next generation. And that's annoying when it happens. Like if it's a year, no big deal. But when it happens a month after you do it, it's disheartening. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I'm not even able to utilize DirectX 11.2 because I'm not on Windows 8.1. So,
noob.
Are you there yet?
Mm-hmm.
But what did it take you to get there? Realizing how shitty Windows 8 was? How many crashes did you have to deal with?
Well, technically I work for Microsoft, so I'm going to no comment that one.
You're going to say you've always had it installed from day one.
No, I'll be honest. There was an NVIDIA bug that prevented me from running 8.1 for a very long time, and it was very annoying because 8.1 fixes a lot of things. I hated that period because prior to that, you and I were playing some games together somewhat regularly, and then because you were having those NVIDIA drivers, you're like, screw the games. I don't want to play games anymore. Yeah, how many times did we try to play games and all I would do is just like crash, or I couldn't get the thing running, or I couldn't screen cap anything. It was always something.
Yeah, I was renaming my live streams, Jay, come play with Jay and watch Jerry fail sort of thing.
Yeah, watch Jerry. What was it? Watch Jerry set up his shit. I think that was one of them.
Because that's all we got to listen to is like, okay, guys, is it working now? And it's pausing. Okay, blue screen. Jerry's gone. Getting text from Jerry, rebooting, piece of shit.
Pretty much.
So, all right. The comments, why are they doing this?
Hey guys, smash that like button if you're in here. We got 235 people watching. We only got 87 likes. Come on, like.
Yeah, it helps us out. We're taking your comments tonight, or your questions, for the next 30 minutes. So,
let's see. Zios212 says devs still don't use DirectX. Let's see. Oh god, it's scrolling away. Don't scroll away. All right, the games that used it barely used it at all, only to smooth models. Crysis 2 and Crysis 3 are the only games that I've seen do it. For DirectX 11, no, that's true. Usually, when a new DirectX version comes out, a lot of the games that were already developed don't take into account all that new functionality that was exposed. So it usually takes a couple generations for everything to catch up.
You know what's ironic about that? DirectX 11 was specifically introducing tessellation, which was to get rid of smoothing and give more polygons and more jagged edges to more natural landscapes and things like that.
Yeah, it is weird.
I mean, tessellation was all about jagginess.
Yeah, no, the cool thing about tessellation was allowing the GPU exclusively to break up and smooth polygons without you having to change anything, really. Like, I don't even think the game literally had to support it, if I'm not mistaken. I think you could actually enable it through the NVIDIA control panel and say, I want high-quality tessellation. It would just be like, oh, hey, 3D models, I'm going to break it up and make it look better.
I'll be honest, I'm one of those guys who never goes into the NVIDIA control panel and manipulates anything in there.
Dude, you can change how things look dramatically in there. Even more so sometimes than being in the game.
Especially since I do a lot of benchmarking, though, I tend to just always leave it at the default global settings with application controlled. That way I have more of a controlled environment.
But no, it makes sense. It does. Because as soon as you start messing with all that stuff, then your benchmarks aren't going to make any sense.
Well, there was one time I was doing a benchmark, and I was capped at 60, and I was going nuts because I was like, damn it, I don't have VSync on! And I forgot I had adaptive on in the global. So
God, I hate adaptive VSync. Does anybody use that? Like,
it's... Adaptive VSync was really put there for people who had shitty cards, to be honest.
It must because every time I've enabled it, it's always just made things shittier.
Well, because it still caps you at 60 frames per second. But the thing is, it was supposed to smooth out the frames per second when you're under 60 by going at a half rate means going between 60 and 30. Because 30 consistent frames per second is smoother to your eye than seeing 30, 35, 48, 20... 16, 35,
yeah,
48,
there's a
30.
Little change. Even when I play a game and I see it jump from like, this is what's weird, is I'll be playing a game, I'll get 120 frames per second, it'll drop to 80. I notice that difference when it's jumping around.
Yeah.
And it's weird because my monitor only supports 60 hertz, but it's the timing. It's the timing at which those frames are entering and leaving the buffer without the VSync enabled that causes that.
People are asking me where this list of backwards compatible cards are. Guys, I was reading the article over on AnandTech. So you got to go to AnandTech. And look at their DirectX 12 article there, and then they will link you to the official Microsoft press release on that. Now, guys, remember, it's still very early information, so you're not going to necessarily get... Okay, I'm tired of seeing this Colby Molten, guys, so you're out of here. So anyway, and you're gone. All right.
Peace.
So anyway... It's really early information, so a lot of the things we're talking about today is very early stages, and I don't want to be necessarily all drama alerting on any of this, but due to high volume, comment loading is disabled. Well, nice. I wanted to have interaction with you guys. I was trying to have interaction with you guys, especially since people say we don't interact enough with the chat, and look what happens. Look what happens.
Thank you, Google.
Ubuntu for the win, Clay Lewis. Not so sure.
Yeah, Linux has still got a little ways to go, folks. Awesome server operating system, not so great desktop operating system. Some people would argue that.
I never personally actually used Ubuntu myself, but I had a coworker that sat next to me who was on Ubuntu all the time, and it's just watching him use it was just constantly... He liked it, but watching what he had to do just to kind of go through day to day, I was like, you know what? That just seems like an awful lot of work for the sake of saying I want to save $100.
Well, the thing is, Linux has caught up a lot. It really has. Like, if you look at most of the main distributions, like I've used all of them. I've used like Red Hat, Debian, Ubuntu, SUSE.
Did you say Ubuntu? Did you say Ubuntu?
Ubuntu. That's
okay. You know who is rolling over right now in his chair?
Who?
Ubuntu. Who do you think would be rolling over in his chair by calling it Ubuntu?
Oh, Ubus.
He's rolling. I know he's rolling right now.
But anyways,
he's like,
yeah, probably. But
dabbing his head.
But I remember back when the only Linux distribution that was really easy to use was like Red Hat, and it was because they did a whole bunch of work to basically put a UI on it out of the box and make it installable without you having to know how to mark sectors and stuff on your hard drive. But now all the distributions seem like they're pretty user friendly. I mean, like SUSE especially. Last time I installed SUSE, I think I burned the image to disk. I stuck it in one of my VMs. I said start it up, and it's like, oh, hey, welcome to SUSE. Do you want to install? I was like, yeah. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on a desktop, and I had a bunch of apps installed, a couple games, and it was ready to go. It was a full UI experience. The problem is there's a lot of difference between how you use each distro because everybody tweaks their UI.
You said stroke.
Yeah, but it that's the thing about Linux. It's not a unified experience. It's like I sit down on one distribution, then I go to another distribution. It's different. I go to another one. One has RPM packages, one doesn't. The way you build stuff, it's a big pain in the ass, the learning curve on that when you start putting all the UI on top of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like, you got Steam moving over there, and they're starting to move their library. It's going to be a long time before everything moves over there. Just like when they tried to do, Steam on OS X. It's like OS X has a good portion of the games, but not a lot of the good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of work to have to go and build a game to work on all those platforms. Like one example that would link back to what we were just talking about was DirectX is cool because it's a standard. Everybody can go and use it. Anybody, any game developer can just use DirectX. They create it for DirectX. Oh, it magically works on all these Windows versions. The thing with like Mantle is if Mantle could proliferate that to Linux and OS X as a standard, that would be cool because then all the games could just port right across. DirectX doesn't, of course, because DirectX is just a Windows technology. So game developers don't like having to write stuff for a bunch of different engines. Like the last big one, I guess the one that OS X uses in Linux that's common is OpenGL. OpenGL isn't that fast. A lot of cards don't focus on optimizing for OpenGL anymore. And that's why you usually don't see comparable performance when you're running stuff under OS X versus Windows. Like, for instance, I played Borderlands 2 when it first came out. I played it on my MacBook Pro 17-inch. Yeah, I know I have a MacBook. Everybody calls me a Microsoft fanboy just because I work there. It's like, no,
I'm going to buy another MacBook.
Yeah, no, it's good hardware. It really is. So I boot into OS X. This would have been, let's see, Snow Leopard. And so Borderlands 2, 1920, 1200, I think I was getting like 63 frames per second or something like that with stock graphic settings. Boot into Windows under DirectX, same exact settings, everything over 100 frames per second with DirectX. It wasn't a slight difference. It was a massive difference. OpenGL just sucked on that particular GPU and chipset.
OpenGL is pretty bad. I agree.
It's pretty well, but that's the funny thing is OpenGL is still like the standard that a lot of 3D modeling programs use. And if you buy a card, if you buy like one of those $1,000 like rendering farm cards, I mean, it screams with OpenGL, but sucks with DirectX.
Right.
I really can't for the life of me figure out why they can't just create one card that works badass with both. I don't know why you always have to compromise one to take the other. I mean, who knows? Maybe one of our viewers knows the answer to that.
That was probably one of the most annoying questions I ever got asked was, hey, Jay, how do you feel about the Quadro cards? What games? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, you're asking me about a rendering card and how I feel about Quadro. I mean, that's just not... Mm-hmm. I just took an Instagram real quick of how fast chat is going by and why we don't get to really... answer nearly as many questions as we want. So I ever got asked. Why is it? Oh yeah, see there it is right there. I'm gonna put that up right now so you guys can see that. You can see what we see. I don't know why the chat decides to freeze for like 2 minutes and then it will just go. It's really, really annoying. Okay, so
I blame Al Gore personally.
Okay,
Al Gore, if you're watching, I blame you for this.
People are now going on about how much Mac OS sucks. Anyone who would say something sucks, in my opinion, is someone who's closed-minded and just has absolutely no ability of looking at something from another perspective, quite honestly. That's the way I feel, because Mac OS X or OS X is not perfect for me, but I can see where it's good for people. It's good for people like my wife. It's very simple once you get used to it. The only people I feel who've truly ever come out and said, Mac sucks, are people who've grown up with PC and to just have the inability to learn anything new. That's the way I feel about it. I've used Mac OS X for quite a few years. My wife's MacBook is 5 years old. Her MacBook Pro is 5 years old and is still running as smooth and as crisp as the day we brought it home. There is not a single PC-based laptop that I have ever bought that lasted more than 2 years without having some sort of hardware failure.
But Jay,
with
let's
regular
be
use.
Let's be absolutely honest here. OS X does suck. I'm just gonna say it. It does.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it sucks.
No, but that's it's different strokes for different folks, right? OS X does have a lot of strengths, right? It's got the OpenGL. Adobe apps seem to give some kind of priority to that platform. It's easier to use in a lot of respects for like professional stuff. Not necessarily. I don't like it for multitasking, to be honest. And it's based on a BSD, an old BSD kernel and everything, so you can actually like build and compile your own stuff. A lot of open source software is readily available and easy to build and stuff, which is funny because a lot of people don't really know that functionality about OS X, like because most Mac users aren't power users. I mean, it's a known fact. Not all of them. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying most aren't power users. But you can literally like open up a bash shell in OS X and just start building code from like SourceForge, like Linux-based source code. as long as you have the right packaging.
Isn't it incredibly ironic how closed off OS X is, yet it's on Linux?
I know that's the part that's really funny. Is it's like, yeah, they try to make it like really contain you, but at the same time, if you can get out to a console, it's like, yeah, you could rebuild the kernel on that damn thing if you wanted to. I mean, it's probably not going to work afterwards, but you can do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, like you said though, it depends on who's using it. It's the perfect type of OS for my wife. There's probably been 2 occasions I've ever had to show her how to do something or really help her because she got stuck and something happened on the computer. She had an Alienware laptop, by the way. Her old laptop was an Alienware and constant problems with it. So you guys can bet right now that the PC I built her has got antivirus on there, anti-malware on there. It's got data logging. It's got automatic backups. I mean, because I'm not going to go through all that again. I'm just not going to go through all that again.
That's another funny argument I always hear is everybody's like, oh, Macs don't get viruses or whatever. Actually, they get a lot of viruses nowadays, like because more people are using them. But that's a compliment. When your system is riddled with viruses, that is the hugest compliment ever, because that means that you're the majority.
Yeah.
You're the absolute majority. You're the worthwhile target. Nobody's going to spend time proliferating a virus to 10% of the world's machines. No, they're going to go after the 90%. So if you're on a platform that can't get a virus and you've never gotten a virus on that platform, that doesn't mean it's an awesome platform. It means nobody uses it.
I would like to quote Bradley Clapp from Twitter saying that OS 10 sucks, said by the Microsoft guy.
I know, right?
Guys, he's contractually obligated.
I'm completely biased. But I did buy a MacBook Pro, so come on, give me some.
He is contractually obligated to say that. Doing a Twitter blitz real quick here. Chris Rawls says, what AM3 Plus CPU would you recommend for a lower end build? I am planning on getting a GTX 760. I want to spend money for a GPU. You could go with something like the FX 6320 or a 6350, but I think depending on where you live, if you are anywhere near a micro center or someone who's near a micro center can mail one to you, you can get an 8320 for $129. That's how much I got my wife's 8-core processor for, $129, and it's really hard to beat that. So,
Mr. Muffington, Jerry, I love you. Well, I love you too, Mr. Muffington. Off his name.
I don't really understand. That person is not typing very clearly. Okay.
Oh, here. Okay, so Programmer's Web said, why do you hate Xcode and Objective-C?
I saw that.
All right. Let's see if I can do this with some kind of, I don't know, dignity and professionalism. I hate it because it sucks. Xcode.
And that's all you have to say. All right, moving on. No, I'm kidding.
Well, here, I'll tell you what. I'll just say Xcode sucks because, honestly, for me, it does crash a lot. It doesn't do what I want it to. The IntelliSense in it's like horribly bad, at least last time I used it. I haven't used it in over a year, so they may have improved that greatly. And Objective-C sucks because I hate the Cocoa standard, like, syntax that you have to use to basically build object-oriented code in a different language on top of a non-object-oriented language, like C. It's just very wonky. It's like, no, just C++ it. I like having a C syntax that remains a C syntax throughout the whole thing. Don't be changing it up and having like 2 languages together. It reminds me of back in the day when I used to do Wacom C on DOS 3.3, and I had to go in and actually do lines of assembly code in line with the C. So you'd be like making, here's some C code, and then all of a sudden, boom, you had to bust out the assembly and start running assembly instructions because there was no, a C equivalent API. That was annoying. Just, I want one language. Just when I'm programming, I want to do the one language that I started in and end in. I don't want this mix match wishy-washy stuff.
Hey guys, if you guys are just joining us, just to recap, Jerry is here, even though the description says he's taking care of his family, which I guess he technically is.
Yep.
He was able to join in last minute. If you want to know how his son is doing, you're going to have to rewatch the beginning of the stream where we spend the first 5 or so minutes talking about his son and how he's doing. And we are going to be ending the stream in exactly 15 minutes, a little bit shorter than normal. But I just want to make sure you guys know that this is going to be up in an archive later tonight. Now, somebody was asking me earlier, hey, Jay, do you know when NVIDIA is going to debut Maxwell GPUs? I have 2 Maxwell GPUs right here underneath this camera. Now,
dun, dun, dun.
Now I don't want to break any NDAs or anything like that. So I'm just going to give you just a quick peek of what a Maxwell GPU looks like. Are you ready? What does that say? What does that say, guys? It says GTX 750 Ti. And that's a GTX 750 Ti. These are Maxwell cards. Now, if you want to know more about Maxwell high-end cards, Just wait till June. June is when you guys can expect to see it. June is when all that stuff always gets debuted, and NVIDIA will either do it right before or right after Computex. It's just the way it is. Computex is like WWDC for Apple, but it's for PC stuff. And it happens every year in June. And when you guys ask me in May, my answer is going to be wait till June. When you guys ask me in June, my answer is going to be turn on the internet. When you guys start asking me after June, hey Jay, when's the 900 series card's going to be here? I'm just going to be like GTFO. So that's how it's going to go. And unfortunately, it was the same last year, and it's going to be the same this year with a lot more people. So, yeah, Maxwell's going to be pretty amazing, though, because the power efficiencies on there are pretty awesome. So I'm really hoping that I've aligned myself with some of these companies this year to get a chance to even look at it, even for just review purposes, if I got to send it back, because it's starting to be scary how much power these GPUs can create at such low wattage. I mean, this 750 Ti right here was only drawing 70 watts. 70. 70. My 780 overclocked is pulling 400. So there's a bit of a difference there. Jay, your mic is smoking. Stop saying that.
No, I don't. Yeah, I guess power efficiency is important, because if you just keep going faster at the cost of more heat, eventually you're gonna burn something down. So
Jerry,
yeah,
I don't think you should join in on the power consumption conversation, considering how much power that one room is pulling.
That's true. A lot of people don't know that the Nerd Cave actually has 2 dedicated 20 amp circuits, not 15 amp standard, 20 amp circuits, custom wired to it just to support the heating and cooling and all the equipment that's in this room.
Because if you didn't, you would have been tripping breakers all day long.
No, that's exactly it. When I first built that, I had to do it for the system. When I put the 3 46s in the main computer and my server, if I had them all on and I'd open a game, the graphics cards would spike and blow the breaker.
So somebody just asked me, Jay, hey, are you going to try out the MSI 750 Ti for your wife's build? You guys know I like MSI cards. You guys know MSI likes me and they send me stuff. I did approach them and say, hey guys, I did the Gigabyte and I did the EVGA. Would you like to get in on some 750 Ti benchmarking action and see where you guys land? And they replied back, we would absolutely love to send you GTX 750 Ti if we weren't 3,000 back ordered. 750 Ti is like the new mining card. And MSI is 3,000 back ordered.
Wait a second. 750 Ti as in GTX 7 is the new mining card?
GTX 750 Ti is the new mining card. People have been able to get like over 300 hash HS or whatever that is on 70 watts of power. So people are just buying up massive amounts of those cards, building huge mining arrays out of the 750 Ti's. It takes more cards to get the same amount of output as you could for like the AMD
But it
side.
doesn't matter as long as they're cheap on power. That's the big point with the digital currency money.
They're cheap on power. They're cheap on price. They're still under $200. Even though they're back ordered, prices did not inflate at all. And so if you guys have noticed the AMD prices have started coming back down, you can quite honestly thank this card right here. This card.
Well, it's too bad, AMD. I'm sorry. Too little, too late. I'm not buying your card now.
AMD, hey, I had conversations with AMD, and so has one of my friends that I'm friends with on Twitter is a tech writer for Forbes Technology segment of the magazine, and he said the same thing. He had meetings with AMD execs. I met with AMD at CES, and we specifically talked about cryptocurrency mining. They do not want to be known as a cryptocurrency mining supplier.
I wouldn't want to. That'd like be like if your company was known for drug dealing.
It's not. Yeah, really.
I mean,
like,
it literally is.
It's like being the company. Yeah. It's like being the company who makes the perfect container for cannabis, and you're anti-cannabis. You know. So anyway, they do not want to base their sales off mining, because all it does is drive up the price and leave out the targeted demographic of what they are doing. Yep. It's not beneficial to them. People go, oh, well, sales are sales. Guess what? This cryptocurrency mining thing is going to change, and it is. And it is changing because people are jumping ship and going to NVIDIA now, because NVIDIA has even specifically released drivers for mining. I don't know if you know that. NVIDIA has mining-specific drivers saying, come on, buy our stuff. We're okay with this. Come on. The 750 Ti was that I don't know if it was intentional or not, but if you guys go look up 750 Ti is like the new mining card.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be known as the mining card because one, like you said, everybody goes and buys it for something that's not intended, and you wonder how that hurts a company. And it does because in order for a graphics company, a company that produces GPUs to actually like be dominant in the gaming marketplace, they have to create a card that a lot of people develop and optimize games for. If everybody buys your cards mining cryptocurrency, there isn't anybody actually running the games with them. Yeah, all your advancements in that area go out the window, and then your competitor steals all your business.
Demon says, Jay, why does your Blue Yeti sound so good? Did you do anything special to it? That I don't know about. Absolutely. See, the difference is it's my voice speaking into it. I can't really speak for your voice. No, quite honestly, the gain on here is nearly all the way down, and it's on cardioid. That's it. It's a USB mic. I don't have any mixers. I don't have any preamps or anything. Deepening.
Yeah, it was
sound.
weird. Tonight I just barely squeaked in right as you were starting the stream, and somehow everything just worked, and my gain was good. Like, that's unheard of.
Except for that one night you had to clap because of the constant auto gain that didn't exist. So, but anyway, just to kind of finalize that particular segment of cryptocurrency mining is AMD is not happy about it because if you look at what you can buy for $300 from AMD and you look at what you can get for $300 from Nvidia, it's specifically, if you're looking at that and you're looking at the performance, you're gonna go, wow, Nvidia's the better bargain, and you're gonna buy Nvidia. AMD doesn't want that. They want you to buy AMD, whether you're a miner or an adult. No, whether you're a miner or a gamer, because the gamer side is honestly what the whole point of a graphics processing unit is for. And believe it or not, very very few people out there in the world technically use their GPUs for any sort of rendering or 3D modeling. That's a very small percentage. That's why they only produce those actual modeling cards by a few hundred. There's only a few hundred at a time.
It's the supply and demand too, because I mean they are very expensive cards. I mean for what you get, like performance comparison wise, I mean they're ridiculously expensive. But people pay that premium for 3D modeling. I mean, to get that OpenGL, it's just it's crazy.
Jushiba said, I knew that shit was going to happen with the GTX 750. You know, it's funny that MSI is out of stock and back ordered by the thousands because Gigabyte, EVGA, and what are the other companies out there? Anyway, all the other companies.
Color?
Color. Power Color is AMD only.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Only.
How
about was it Zotac?
Zotac, Galaxy, PNY. Those companies are able to keep it in stock. So I think people have just come to like the MSI cooler. They also went with a full-length PCB. They did a custom PCB and stretched it out rather than having that tiny little card with it hanging by 4 inches off the back of the card.
Yeah.
So it's all custom PCB. I don't know. Maybe it just did really well. It cooled really well.
People keep saying the mic's smoking. Are they talking about me? Is something wrong with my video?
There was a stream we did a while back, maybe 5 or 6 episodes ago, where there was some sort of weird artifacting thing happening with my camera where the top of the mic looked like there was plumes of smoke coming off of it. Like, I watched it in the stream. You could see it. There was just some artifacting going on with the camera. You know how the pixels move around on a webcam? Yep. It looked like the top of the microphone was smoking on the stream.
Funny.
So ever since then,
mine looks a little hazy, but that's the weird thing is my room doesn't look hazy at all, but on the camera it kind of does. I think it's just the settings, just the levels on the card or on the camera. Ugh.
Yeah. So anyway,
brainy, no worky tonight, Jay.
Well, it's because you need sleep, mister.
I know, dude. I haven't slept in so long, but I just today was you want to do something like this when you're happy. It's like I wanted to get on here, I wanted to talk to Jay, I wanted to do the show because everything went well today. It was just like rare occurrence in the last 2 weeks to just have everything go according to plan and be nice.
Yeah, right. You just wanted to use this to have some closure to feeling somewhat productive in some way on YouTube.
Yes.
Right. No. I don't know. 15,000 views on your vlog in a day. I think it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm like a tech channel, and I get more views when I'm like, yeah, guys, I'm depressed, and yeah. That's
you never know. You never know. Your kid's injury may be like your personal Austin moment that shoots you up on popularity, man.
God, I sure hope not. I mean, that would that would be really sad.
Guys, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go punch my kid in the face, and I'm gonna post a picture of her injury, and then I'm gonna hit it big on YouTube.
Yeah, but you know what? In all seriousness, though, when I created that video, I expected to lose subs and I expected it to cause some damage, but I did it because I just needed to talk and get stuff out. It was one of those things.
But you didn't.
Like I did it as therapy, and the funny thing is it worked exactly as prescribed. I mean, I read all my comments all that night and the next morning. Really got me amped up. I was really happy. Things were going good. I was still stressed, but ultimately everything worked out good, and everybody said it would work out good. So thank you everybody for telling me it was going to work out good, because I knew everybody knew it was going to work out good except for me, because I was being pessimistic. But hey, the internet can be nice sometimes. There's a lot of trolls and assholes out there, but the majority of you guys are good folk, and I love you for it.
Okay, so Anthony Solis says, hey, and this is on Twitter, by the way. Hey, I went on PSU calculator and it said 2 times 7970s with a 3570K will be okay with a 750 watt PSU. Saw your video about the PSU. Your thoughts? If you saw my video about the PSU, then you know my thoughts. Power supplies often are able to handle a lot more than what you would think, because your system actually uses a lot less power than you think. But the reason why people will say you need 1,000 watt, or why I'm going to put a 1,200 watt PSU inside my system for my two 780s, is because there's a such thing as an efficiency curve, and the max rated efficiency is at about 60 to 50% load. As you pass that threshold on usage, the efficiency goes down, which means more heat and more power drawn from the wall to give you that power, which means higher energy bill. If you oversize your PSU just right, you keep your system under load in its max efficiency, which means better energy bills. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, plus heat kills electronics, so running your power supply at 100% all the time is not going to be good for it.
Yeah, that PWM fan would be blaring. I mean, it would wear out over time. Now, granted, their life expectancy that they usually put on there was like 40,000 hours, 60,000 hours, whatever, is rated at max load, by the way.
But also keep in mind, I've actually had 2 power supplies catch fire already from running them really, really hard on a VM server. So
fires are scary, and I'm not going to go into details. I'm not going to go into details, but fires are scary.
Yeah, we've all learned that fires are scary. Fire is not something that I ever want to have to deal with. But I really lucked out one time, because I came into the man cave in my little server I have over here under my desk.
Hey, DJ Warrior is buying your Starbucks. I just want him to stop spamming it, so I'm telling you.
Oh, thank you, DJ Warrior, for buying my Starbucks. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I love my Starbucks. But anyways, I came in and I saw no smoke. I didn't see any smoke. I just saw a flicker in the back of the computer under the desk, and I was like, what? Is there an LED back there? I thought it was the LAN card or something that was like flickering like data. And then I smelt like burnt plastic as I got closer, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? So I literally lay down, slide under the desk, and I look through the back of the power supply, and no shit, there was an actual fire, like a little campfire just burning in there. And I was like, oh shit. So what do? I unplug it really quick, and I start blowing in there. I'm like, and then I blew it out, and then smoke started billowing out. As soon as I blew the fire out, the smoke just came pouring out of the back.
I'm only laughing because your webcam froze for a moment when you were making the blow face. So you can watch it later. It paused when you were doing that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I was so lucky because I realized, the cases that put the power supply at the bottom of the case, like the Antec 900. I realized that, that's cool in theory, but holy shit, that's a bad idea if your power supply catches fire. Like, it was literally down on the carpet. Like, if the fire had came out of the back of it at all, it would have just instantly, just ignited the carpet. Like, so now I'm like, no, I'm not a big fan of having the power supply laying on the floor anymore.
Well, I mean, I won't go into any details, but let's just go ahead and say that at least, I mean, I did have a fire in here, guys. I had a fire in this room. Sure did. But everything is still here. So, but let's just... Let's just say the orientation of the case over there allowed the flame to go out of the case instead of across everything else.
God, I'm not gonna get. What is it with electronics catching fire lately? Holy shit!
I know, right? I'm telling you right now. Have you remember Back to the Future?
Yes.
Do you remember when Doc Brown drove the little car off the table and it caught the wastebasket on fire and he's all, That's kind of what I did. I was like, I was doing the same thing, mostly not because I wanted to save that PC necessarily, but I kind of was worried that everything else in the room was going to go up on smoke. For a brief moment, I almost grabbed compressed air, and I was like, "Wait, is this flammable?"
Dude, just your luck. You grab the compressed air and blow it on there and do ether. Just
turns into a flamethrower.
Oh
I
my
could
God.
just see that. Oh my
Let's
God.
see. Zushiba says, Jerry, you have the Nest thermostat thing. You should pick up one of the Nest Fire smoke detectors. No, I totally should. I've been looking at those for a long time and been thinking about buying them. And if I do, I'll definitely do a review on them. But
Joshua Northern says, "Oh, good Lord, this fire! Ain't nobody got time for that."
oh, good Lord, Jesus is a fire.
Can you guys help explain the instability of Bitcoin? Maybe another night, guys. We're actually out of time tonight. Jerry,
7:01. We got to wrap it up.
Jerry,
wrap it up, G.
Thanks for coming in here tonight and allowing me to hanging out a little bit and talk about fire.
Dude, I'm so glad that I actually
moment.
got an opportunity to actually like sit down and talk to another human being that I could have some fun talking to instead of being a pessimistic, little depressed little bitch like I've been for the last week. I am happy to be back to my same old self. Thank you.
I was making a face, but you can't see it for another
Thank
60
you.
seconds.
Yeah, I know. Did you think I could see you when you were doing it?
No, I knew you couldn't. But everyone else could.
Hey, just so everybody knows, Joshua Northern apparently is selling my penis, bids starting at $50,000.
Woo!
And Jay's penis is apparently half of a penny. Wow, I'll put in a bid on that. Shit, that sounds like a damn deal.
What on that?
Do I get
on
the
the
whole
half
thing?
penny? All right. Well,
Jay,
but if the bid goes past a half a penny, then doesn't that kind of maybe prove him wrong?
That's true. It could.
If you would pay more than a penny, push one. No, actually, that's a weird conversation.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and not bring any of the gay Canadians that you always speak of into this stream tonight.
Yeah, where are my gay Canadians? I haven't seen any of my gay Canadians in here tonight. I'm a little depressed. Aww.
Oh well. All right, guys, time to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna
wrap it up. Thank you.
We're gonna play the outro, and as always, we will see you guys next Thursday with our normal format. No, it won't be a drunk show, so stop asking.
Yes.
Damn it, Jerry.
Oh. The best show ever.